Lastly, we need to be able to write equations of hyperbolas. So let's say that you're given that a hyperbola has foci at 0, -5, and 0, 5, and vertices at 0, -3, and 0, 3. Now the center of this hyperbola is 0, 0. So far, we've only been talking about hyperbolas whose center is the origin. However, another way to determine that is to take a look at the foci and the vertices. They both must be equidistant from the center. You can see that both foci are 5 units away from 0, 0, and both vertices are 3 units away from 0, 0. So that's another way of identifying that the origin is the center of our hyperbola. Now, the next thing we need to identify is whether or not the transverse axis of our hyperbola is vertical or horizontal. Easiest way to do that is to take a look at where the vertices are. You can see our vertices are on the y-axis. That tells us that the transverse axis must be vertical. And since it's vertical, we need to use this equation for our hyperbola. Y squared over a squared minus x squared over b squared equals 1. Now to come up with our equation, all we need to do is figure out what a and b are. As we've already talked about, a represents the distance from the center of a hyperbola to a vertice. And like we already mentioned, each vertice is only 3 units away from the center. So therefore, a must be 3, because that represents how far a vertice is from the center. Next, we need to figure out what b is. All right? We know that the foci are at 0, -5, and 0, 5. And we've already discussed that c represents the distance from a center to a foci. So in this case, c must equal 5. And we've also already mentioned that the relationship between the a, b, and c values in a hyperbola is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So we're just going to use that fact to help us find b and finish up the problem. So I'm going to scroll down here a little bit. All right, I'm going to plug in our a and c values. So a is 3, so a squared must be 9. We don't know b squared yet. And c is 5, so c squared must be 25. And if we solve this equation, we will get b squared equals 16. So therefore b does equal 4, but we really only need to know what b squared is. So b squared is 16. We know what a squared is, so we are done. So our final answer is y squared over 9 minus x squared over 16 equals 1. Done. All right, so now I think you're ready to try one on your own. Scroll down a little bit more here. And your try problem is, write the equation of the hyperbola with foci at -2, 0 and 2, 0, and vertices at -1, 0 and 1, 0. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to try that. I'm going to write down here in a few seconds what the answer is to this problem so you know if you got it right and if you're on the right track. All right, I'm about to write down the answer, so pause it if you don't want to see it. Okay, I'm writing down the answer. Oh, now I'm writing down the answer. X squared minus y squared over 3 equals 1. So if you got that right, you are ready to go for your homework tonight. Thanks.